to manifest your light, to manifest your ability. And especially if you see something in the woman that you don't like, that you want to be changed, here is the number one rule. You cannot change her. You cannot criticize, and you're never allowed to complain. The worst short circuit a man can do is to criticize or complain. That's the worst. Why? Because immediately when you criticize or complain, you become a vessel. You're looking to receive something. You're no longer the light. Your soul actually disconnects completely from your body, and you're totally disconnected from the light. That's why it never works. It doesn't not work because the woman's not listening. It doesn't not work because you're not playing your role. You're disconnected from your true position in this world. The Creator made you as a force of light. That's why men, excuse me for saying this, it's totally a stereotype, but just see if it's true for yourself. Men probably enjoy sleeping around more than women. Now, that's not my opinion, okay? I'm just putting it out there. If it's true for you, let's go with it, okay? Why? Because they want to give. They want to give their energy. Of course, they're giving it in a very short-circuit way. They're just looking for whoever will take it. But it's easier for a man. They don't think about it so much. Women are more based on emotion. The man just wants to look for a vessel to share with. So what is our job as men? We need to understand one thing. Whenever we complain, especially in a relationship, we're disconnected. The woman will not understand what you're saying. They don't get it. They don't hear it. You can complain and criticize from here to forever, but they'll never change. And it's not their fault. They don't understand your language. You know, there's a Far Side comic I love to talk about. It's like, you know, there's a man talking to a dog, and he's screaming at the dog, and he's like educating the dog, you know, because he made a mistake on the carpet. And he said, Scruffy, that was wrong of you. You know, you shouldn't have done it. And he's like talking to him like in a verbose language, like articulating himself. You shouldn't have done this. Don't you know it's wrong? I just bought this carpet from the store. And he's talking to the dog, and they're showing in the comic how he's talking to the dog. Then they show the point of view of the dog hearing it. So what does the dog hear? The dog hears blah, 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 Scruffy. Blah, 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 Scruffy. Blah, blah. That's all the dog hears. And that's the same thing in a relationship. If you're not playing your role, which is communicating in a giving way, all the woman will hear is blah, 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 Janet. Blah, 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 Linda. Blah, that's all they hear. They cannot hear what you're saying. It's like when you speak into the phone and it comes out muffled the other end. And the only way a woman will take it is just that she's not good enough. That's all she'll take from that. She's not good enough. She gets broken down as a vessel, and your light has nowhere to be revealed. And you become unsuccessful. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. We cannot change anyone, especially the opposite sex.
Hello, my Mikdo brothers, back again. And the clip that you just saw was from a series that I put up years ago from the Kabbalah Center on having lasting love. And in that clip, the speaker was talking about communicating with women and how women take criticism and communication. I was reminded of this clip by a question from a subscriber. And then just today, I was reading a Red Pill blog by Vox Day called Alpha Game Plan. And he had a post called Female Communication. And it was written by what I believe to be a university professor in a STEM field who's supposed to be very logical. She's saying the same thing that this Kabbalah teacher was saying. How differently women view the world than men, and how their communication styles are not only different, but also how their feelings are involved, even in something that could be logical, and how they take criticism a lot differently than men do. So basically, she was a checkbox for everything that was said in that video and everything I've been saying in my esoteric series. And something that I reiterated when I did the post 5 things about women. Exactly the same, right down the list. And this is coming from an independent source, from a ostensibly logical woman that's in a STEM field. And she not only admits, but she confirms exactly what I've been saying and what this teacher was saying. So I'm going to play an audio transcription of the post that was written to Alpha Game Plan, Mr. Vox. I'm going to give you a listen. And you can see exactly what I'm talking about, what I've been trying to tell you about women and how they view the world. Just to show this esoteric philosophy is not bullshit.
Men vs. Women 101, Handling Criticism. Most non-gamma men take constructive criticism well. My husband, for instance, will send something to a friend or colleague for assessment, and when his work gets eviscerated, he's very congenial about it and appreciates that this person took the time to identify errors and save him from embarrassment. To him, it's a kindness. Women, on the other hand, respond to criticism very differently. Here's an example. I'm in an ongoing argument with a colleague about a scientific theory. It's an argument he initiated, but it's objectively helpful, because I'm attempting to write up a detailed treatment, and I want it to be free of errors. In our latest exchange he sent me a long-winded critique of my math wherein he concluded that I've made some errors that completely undermine the whole proposition. He's a nice, sympathetic man who just wants to understand how it all works, but when I read this criticism, I got extremely irritated. For the first moment after I skimmed his critique, I hated his guts, even though, if I truly made those errors, he's just saved me a lot of public embarrassment. Turns out he's the one who made a fundamental error in his critique, but it was still helpful. My explanation was far too telegraphic, which is what led to the misunderstanding. The lesson here? A woman will always take even benign, helpful criticism personally. Just remember that when you're dealing with women, either in your family or at work, and the more helpful you try to be, the worse you'll make it. What really made me hate his guts with a burning intensity wasn't that he pointed out what he thought were errors, but that he spent 37 pages of equations and graphs expounding on it. If he just said, "You goofed on the integral in equation 3 inches," and left it to me to ask follow-up questions, I would have just been mildly irritated. But all those pages and pages were like he was saying, "This is how much of an idiot you are." So, here's my advice to you. If you are going to offer a woman criticism, keep it as terse as possible. Make her ask follow-up questions if she wants to know more. Why? Because, even when you are dealing with an ostensibly rational woman, she is undoubtedly either seething with irritation or completely devastated over something you probably didn't intend at all. I bet as this guy was writing up all 37 of those pages, he was thinking, "Boy, am I being helpful with all this detail? She'll really appreciate how much time I'm taking to carefully explain everything." Alas, that we women aren't so gracious as to default to that explanation, but that's just female nature. Save all that extra effort for the men in your lives who will understand it and appreciate it.
See, so there you have it. As you can see from the post, even though the female writer is logical and objective, she's telling you that as objective and rational as she is, and even though she logically can see how helpful her colleague was to her, even though he went through a detailed explanation, she still could not override her feelings. So that tells you there's no such thing as a no-walt, period. No matter what they say, how they say it, how smart they are, what their IQ is, or whether they're a STEM chick or not a STEM chick, she has the same thought processes and feelings as the woman on welfare, the ghetto chick. So to deal with a woman on the job, in your home, in your bed, you have to be able to manage her feelings. Women feel the world. They don't think the world. That's what the red pill pickup artists are trying to tell you. Her feelings will always override her logic. And even the best game player is always going to trip up. You're going to say something, or you're going to do something, and she's going to misinterpret it, and she's going to wind up, guess what, hating your guts, being horribly irritated, or feeling devastated and abused by a comment that you didn't even intend to even do that. It doesn't matter. Just like men cannot override their biology, women cannot override theirs. A woman's brain is wired for feelings first. Her logic only manages her feelings. But feelings are more pervasive than logic. Any human being will know that if you hate somebody, you hate them. And it doesn't matter how helpful or logical you think they are. If you hate them, you hate them. That's the same thing with women. That's why marriage, for a long time, you could not just get divorced over feelings. And now you can. And this modern society allows women's feelings to overrule logic and common sense. And for my black brothers out there, MGTOW and not, the ones that we call educated lames and nerds, that's the reason that the bad boys, the thugs, and the Jodies, and the Ray Ray and Pookies can get women when you can't, because they know how to, guess what, manage a woman's feelings. We try to manage a woman's feelings with logic and override it. You can't override her feelings, and neither can she. If her logic doesn't do it, you can't do it. So you can take a woman with a PhD, a woman in a STEM field, she will go for the bad boy because guess what? It's her feelings that override her logic. The original pickup artists called pimps, they already know that. They never, ever apply or appeal to a woman's logic. Their whole game, their dress, their cars, their language, their conversation all appeals to her feelings. This is just a quick note. I always like to put out practical examples of what I talk about in my philosophy when I can. And this is one I just couldn't resist. It was too juicy and too good and too right on time. So like always, comment, make another video. These are keys to dealing with women. So make use of them. Make use of them in your videos. Make use of them in your life. When you talk to your sisters, your co-workers, your mothers, your lovers, even your friends with benefits. If you know how to manage her feelings, you're one leg up on her. For as far as men are concerned, logic always rules feelings. And if you know how to manage hers using logic and using forethought, you can win the game. With that, I'm going to close out.